Out. Welcome, everybody, to the supplementary edition of the Divine Treasury. This is the Collector's Corner. My name is Mike, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Jamie. And as you know, on the Collector's Corner, typically what we do is we ask a creator of a product, a manufacturer of a product, a licensee with CBS to come on the show and tell us a little bit about what they have in store for all of you as collectors. So for this show, we have Charmaine Tam from EXO-6 joining us. And if you've been paying attention to Twitter, you've seen the awesome products that they're putting out. So we're really looking forward to this. How are you doing tonight, Charmaine?
Hi, thanks, Mike. I'm doing good. Thanks for introing me. And I'm ready to answer some questions. I am the marketing director here at EXO-6, and I'm ready to dive in and get into the characters here that we're creating.
Awesome. Yeah, Jamie and I have we've been keeping an eye on what has been put out there as far as advertisements and marketing for EXO-6 and seeing the product, and we've been getting really excited about what you're putting out there. In fact, I was showing my daughter tonight the pictures of the Picard, and she said, "That's not a figure." I said, "No, that's a figure." She goes, "No, that looks like a picture." I said, "Yeah, it's a picture of the figure. It's not a picture of Patrick Stewart."
Yeah. We get that a lot, actually. It's very hard to tell if it's actually like a screen cap from the movie or if it's a professional photographer of the figures. But thank you very much. We're really excited about Picard. We're on pre-sale here still. We're doing really well. A lot of excitement with the First Contact series. We have data already. We've sold out our pre-sale with us right now. And if people want to still purchase it, I believe Sideshow and BBTS still has data on stock to sell. So if anybody's still interested in getting data and they didn't get a chance to on our website, you know how they sold fast. So you can get them at Sideshow or BBTS and make sure you get a pre-order for Picard, because we know everyone's going to be very excited for that. And we're coming close on our quantity here. So thank you.
Good to know.
Tell your daughter thank you very much as well.
No, I will say it is probably the most realistic product I've ever seen. And I mean, it looks absolutely incredible. I'm a big TNG fan. Love Captain Picard, my favorite actor, everything. So I'm super excited about getting it. I put my pre-order in a couple weeks ago. So very, very anxious to see what that looks like.
As did I.
Like.
Yeah, we'll have data be coming out here soon with our production samples. So I believe people will be able to see him soon, and not in the customer's hand, but we'll have a few people review it pretty close to here soon. So cool. Once that starts, you want to get pre-orders early before that starts, because once people see it, it's going to be, sold out basically.
Right. Right.
But we started this 1/6 because they are very realistic in the 1/6 merchandise compared to the other styles of merchandising that we have with the license. And we just think that with the Star Trek characters, being able to bring them to life is like such an amazing thing. And that's why we coined it museum grade, is because when you're watching Star Trek, you're not only just thinking about, the ships and you want to have a ship, but it's also about the characters that they bring into life and the captains that they highlight on Star Trek series. So it will be really, really amazing if we can get a big collection in the museum and you can see each series and you can see how their uniforms is changing with each series. And that's kind of our goal here in EXO-6, is to get that large breadth and show that large series of Star Trek and having all the main characters of Star Trek, because that is the heart of Star Trek here.
Great. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that that's what the goal of EXO-6 is. But for those that haven't visited your website, what's the story behind how EXO-6 came into creation here?
Sure. So EXO-6 started with our founder, who goes by Nanjin, and he got his groove among the Star Trek forums online. So he's just a big Star Trek devotee from the start, you know. He grew up watching TNG and followed through with like Voyager as he grew up, and became more of like a father figure and was watching Voyager. And during that time, he has been a collector of 1/6 together for, you know, as a hobbyist himself. And so when he saw that Star Trek didn't have somebody to take on the 1/6 license to make it realistic, to make something memorable for Star Trek, he kind of started making toy figures and 1/6 figures on his own without a license, just as a hobby. But eventually, as no one wanted to continue the Star Trek license or the series, he saw like a lot of people pick up the license and do like 1 or 2 figures and then never complete the series. So he felt like nobody was actually taking care of the merchandise as well as, you know, a devoted fan would. Like maybe a little button would be slightly off, and, you know, all the major fans would be like, oh, I see that, you know, like how could you forget about that one button? And, you know, Nanjin was a part of that crew that would kind of nitpick at things as well. And so he was thinking, like, who would be a better person to create these products other than a Star Trek fan as well? And that's kind of a little bit of the background of how we got started here. And once nobody else wanted to pick up the license, Nanjin went ahead and with his own money went into it, started this business, and we're here, EXO-6. We're here to try and bring the breath of Star Trek to life, and we want to complete as many series as possible in the future, and try and, you know, build that confidence that people don't have in the past in the Star Trek merchandise line.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that, because we've talked a number of times on our show about the process of even through our lives as young kids growing up to adults, and the figures just never real. There was one licensee that really did a pretty good job of it, but they ended at the end of the 90s, Playmates. Mm-hmm. And that's definitely not a 1/6. That's definitely not the museum quality. That was more of a toy for kids that adults kind of just grabbed onto because it was something associated with the franchise that they liked. So I definitely like the story behind that, and wanting it to be just accurate for, I mean, Jamie and I both know people in the community that will even comment on the show itself and how they might have had like a pin wrong somewhere or something placed in the wrong. Yeah. So
a lot of it too is like, it comes down to being a toy or being a collectible sometimes.
Exactly.
As well. And, you know, those Playmates figurines, I love them as a toy and a collectible, but I mean, this product is just very much geared toward that collector that, you know, really is looking for the realism, and just trying to get that type of effect, you know, from the product for sure.
Yeah, it's a memorabilia at the end of the day. We try to sway away from any toy talk. They are figures and collectibles and memorabilia because of the accuracy. They really are 1/6 scales of what we try to portray on film. And we work with very talented painters and sculptors to really get the likeness of the characters as well. So thank you. I'm glad you guys are with it.
Well, the two of us unfortunately have a lot of money on our shelves and walls and everything. So we do.
they go up in price, right? Investment.
You hope.
They only go up in price as an investment if you actually sell them. That's what I
Yes, that is what my wife tells me all the time. It's not worth anything. Yeah, it's not worth anything if it's still sitting on your shelf.
Yeah.
So is that kind of what led the decision to go the museum grade as is advertised on the product, just wanting that accuracy for a collector versus what we were just talking about?
Yeah, I think that we saw this huge Star Trek audience that wanted something more accurate, because I feel like the audience in general who love Star Trek they do like the details, and they are scientific and meticulous about that. And we didn't feel like there was a company out there that catered to specifically the audience. They were just kind of making merchandise. And so that opening, coupled with Nanjin's just already passion of being, this is where he was. He is still in the forums. If you look now, like if you are a Star Trek fan, he's always in the forums and stuff talking. And so that really led him, the combination of being a fan and having this opening of nobody wanted to pick up the license really brought it together. And that's basically it.
All right. So take us through the process of creating a product from concept to getting it into the hands of the collector. How long is that manufacturing process?
Okay, sure. So from concept to selling, it will probably take us about 6 months, not taking into consideration some of the global shipping delays that we have going on right now. But in general, with all things going well, it should take us about 6 months. So we start off with choosing a character that we think will align well with what we're doing. And from there, we prototype the figure. Yeah, so we start by choosing the figure. Then we're working on the prototype and work on getting a production sample, taking the photos, the pre-orders, and then production and quality control, and then we ship. So with the sculpt, we handpick specific artisans that are going to be able to sculpt it digitally and with like a 3D printer as well. And we pick people who we feel will do the best job specifically for a character. So if we thought somebody else would have a better control over the likeness, we'll go with another person. Currently, we have our two artists, Godwin Nerona, who did our head sculpt for Data and Picard, who is also a Trek fan by nature. So he watches it and knows exactly what he's looking for. He's not just looking at a reference photo from somebody that's 2D. This is a person who watches the films and gets the complex angles of a person's face. And we also have Jacob Ramier, who did the paint reference for Data and Picard, which is not the end paint that everyone will receive. It's just a reference for our factory production to look at while they're making the thousands of datas as well. So we work with a high artisan at that point who has a really great touch on the likeness of actors. And so now we have a sculpted head. We have it painted now we have a sculpted head by Godwin, and we have a painted head by Jacob. And so now we work with the Star Trek franchise and CBS to get it approved. And this is also the time where the likeness of the actor will also come into play. So one of our photos of our prototype will be sent to the actual actor to be approved. So Data and Picard were both approved by the actor as well. So that's pretty fun and amazing. They also agreed. We also go back and forth with the actor too. If they don't think that they look much like the sculpt, we'll tweak it here. And so we get the approval of the whole franchise and the actors before we move on to the production phase. And so this is where some people will start to solicit pre-orders with the professionally painted head sculpt, but instead we usually wait until we get a sample from our production. So we send the prototype all the way back to China, where we make our products in-house. And that's where we will get a production sample. So it's not from the artist, but it's a copy of what our factory will do. And this is where we get the images for pre-sale. So we try to get the sample as accurate to what the final product will be in customer's hand, rather than having this like amazingly intricate artisan high level thing. Obviously it is based off of an artist, and that's still a very high level, but we want to make sure it's as accurate as possible for pre-sale, for people to see production sample, so we don't mislead anybody. And it's all transparent from there. And we'll work with another 1/6 professional here. In our last photos, we worked with Trevor Williams, and he took the photos for our pre-sale, and that's what you see there. And we work with the Star Trek CBS franchise to get the backgrounds that are official from like First Contact, and there are screen caps from that, and Trevor will put the figures in like an amazing light so they look realistic and proportional, and they don't look like, you know, a tiny toy standing on a desk with a background in the back. So it's a lot of artisan work too, and we really pride ourselves on supporting our artists during this time. And we just think that it's also an important part of the creative economy to be able to support our sculptors, our painters, our photographers throughout the whole process. And I think that's really important. And so after Trevor Williams takes the photos of our pre-order, we send back the sample for to the production, and we're starting production. And we're basically, that all took about a month or two, maybe close to 2 months, 1 or 2 months. And that's basically just prototyping. So we're doing the head sculpt, we're painting it, we're sending it to CBS. The actors are saying, oh, we need a little tweak here and there. And then we're going back to the artist and having them tweak it. And then that usually takes about a month. And from here, it's about 3 or 4 months out of production. And we're basically like pumping them out on the assembly line now in the factory, production, assembly. And then while we're assembling them, because we're doing most of the stuff in-house, which is kind of unique, we have a lot of control over the quality that's coming out as well. Assembling will take less time. It'll be more controlled because we kind of have trained. We're one step away from the people who look at the product. So we train them specifically on what they're looking at, you know, the Star Trek kind of ideology. We're teaching them about Data. We're teaching them about Picard, you know? And so it's not like 2 steps away where they don't really know what they're looking for again, because Star Trek is so detailed that if you get like 2 steps further, maybe like the game of telephone, you don't really know what you're looking for anymore. So that's basically where our strengths come in our production, is that we do most of it in-house. And we do about 3 or 4 rounds of quality control here at the assembly, just to make sure that the figures look good and we don't have any paint splatter on the neck or anything. And we do this with statistical randoming. So we pick a random sampling and we double check it for quality control. So like every 1 in 10, we'll pick one out and double check that, make sure, even in the art boxes as well. So we're making sure that the data isn't upside down in the box, and that the QR code and the information is all right on the box. And that's basically it. We're basically almost here for Data. Is like the assembling and the production right now. So we're almost there, double checking Data at this point. And between that, I mean, the industry standard would basically be around 12 months, but we've nailed it down to about 6 months here in production. But from doing the head sculpt, we're painting it. Now we've gone back from CBS, sending it back and forth. We sent it back to the factory. Now they're pumping it out. We did the quality control. and then we ship. And we should be there soon again for data.
Oh, that's absolutely incredible. I was
going to say the same thing. Extraordinary.
Yeah, and I like the fact that you kept touching on the point of that you're doing it in house, and that's sometimes where people run into issues when they're sending it back and forth from China or what you're able to get it to that quality that you want, and then fix an issue right away. So that's so incredible. Now, obviously, we're both TNG fans here. Mike and I, huge TNG fans. So by no means is this a complaint. But with all the options you guys have in the Star Trek universe, why did you start with Data and Picard from First Contact?
It's a really good question. People are very interested in why we started on Data. And the biggest reason is that Data as a droid, he began in Star Trek kind of as a innocent young droid. And throughout the series of Star Trek, he gains consciousness. He learns to be human. There's all these obstacles that he overcomes and grows within the Star Trek franchise. And that's kind of how we see our company as well. Like, we are also going to be growing and expanding within the Star Trek series and franchise together, just like Data and one of our future figures that we will be coming out here soon. You'll have a similar storyline with that.
Nice. So now we noticed that the Picard figure is available for pre-order, and the Data can only be ordered if you've completed a pre-order. So can you kind of take us through a little bit of your business model? Are you doing this to make sure that you can fulfill requests in a timely manner? Can you kind of take us through that?
Yeah. So we have pre-orders mostly because we are a limited collectible item. And so we only make about, X amount of Datas or Picards, and we can only sell that many. And so since we have other retailers that want to hold our product and hold Data and Picard, so we have to reserve a certain amount of items for them as well. So the best way we can do is to pre-order the items now, and if anybody wants to buy residual ones, they can go to our retailers. But from this way, we've actually because Nanjin and some other people who work on our company have a experience within the 1/6 and merchandising industry, they've actually seen that it's better to pre-order it before it hits. And so people can get a sense of the timing and everything and get ready and, wait for it at a certain time to purchase it, since it's a collectible item rather than having it in stock.
Nice. Yeah, that's we've run into this with some other companies in the past where it's an in-stock item, but the quality isn't there, like what you were talking about a few questions ago, where EXO-6 is doing this extensive quality control right down to making sure that there's no paint splatter on the figure, which I've got to say, it's almost unheard of nowadays when everything is just so production oriented and quality is, it's like production is number one and quality might be like number 4 or 5 on the list. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say too, and it's a measure of transparency that your company is exuding to the customer as well. Because you have those lead times, but you're being very upfront and honest about it, and you have a control instead of selling all these pre-orders that you're not going to be able to fulfill and then create more customer dissatisfaction. So I definitely think it's a good model to do when you're doing something very specialized like this. Now, the constraint of how many you can make, is that something that CBS put on you, or is that just your company, came up with that number?
Yeah, it's not really something that CBS comes up with. We right now, like for example, we're kind of limited on the amount of products that we can sell because the material that we got for the uniforms is we only had a certain amount of that material to make for the uniforms. So we can only make planned out a few figures before we can source more of the material. We could, buy a cheaper material that's less accurate, but we'd rather just make a few less figures, take it a little slow, source out better materials where we can get like a bigger buy in the next few months. And so that's kind of why we're trying to keep the numbers a little bit lower right now as we start, but hopefully, like you said, as we grow and we're also kind of learning the pace of how everyone is reacting to us, we'll be able to be a little bit even more transparent about our production schedule and what's happening with the production line once we get in the grooves of things, basically. Hopefully after the next couple.
Yeah, and we've actually talked about your product a couple of times on our show. As we see that the pre-orders come out, one of the things that we try to do on our regular shows is talk about what's new to the market. And so when we've seen the pre-orders coming up, we'll mention it on the show. But for those that may not have heard that or may not have seen the marketing out there, can we just you mentioned the materials for the uniforms. So this isn't what people are used to with Star Trek figures, where it's plastic uniform or a rubberized uniform, correct?
No, they are completely sewed on uniforms. They have specific lining on their seams to make it look like as accurate as the movie too. So we have like seamstresses doing the small uniforms to make it as accurate as possible, and they have Velcro attachment and magnetic attachments on them, so you can put your accessories as well. So it's very high quality items. It's not just kind of something flimsy. Like if I was going to buy something, it would probably be as well quality made as this outfit now too.
That's great. All right. So you've talked a little bit about how Nanjin has been in the 1/6 market for a long time. He has experience with it. Is he I think you even mentioned that he is a collector himself. So is that kind of what spurred on this business for him?
Yeah, he's been a long time collector himself. He used to collect a lot of Gundam toys as well, like buildable toys. And he personally has a bunch of these collectible 1/6 items with his personal preference of collection before too. And again, that blend between his passion for 1/6, because those items were so realistic, and his passion for Star Trek really blended those two together. So the realism and the museum grade of wanting to have a 1/6 product and the passion for Star Trek. So that's how we got EXO-6 all started here.
Now, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here. I thought you mentioned that this is just one product that you're doing under the Star Trek license. Is that correct? Or
for now, we will be doing just 1/6 products under the Star Trek license, but anything is possible. We have a Star Trek license, worldwide license. So we can, if we wanted to, branch into other things. But right now, we're really trying to focus on 1/6, and we're trying to bring the whole Star Trek universe to life, series by series.
That's awesome, because if we love this product, then that means that we can expect future things from EXO-6.
Yes. And the things that we have coming up, we have our Captain series that we've announced. We haven't dropped any information about the Captain series just yet, but I can let you guys know that the pace of what you're going to be purchasing for the characters is going to be quite quick if you love all of the Star Trek. But if you're more of a series type of person, like if you're more of the First Contact person or TNG person, we'll have specific things that will come out on their own timeline. So if we have potentially, if we have for our Captain series, somebody like each of the captains will have its own production schedule. So if somebody comes out with one captain, they'll have 2 or 3 crew members at the same time, and it will be completely separate from the scheduling that we'll have for First Contact. So you can expect a captain and then maybe the Borg Queen statue that we have coming on maybe within the same week or 2 weeks. And we're just trying to flood the market with everything that we can possibly produce to make sure that people know that we're here to stay and we know what Star Trek looks like. And we're here to devote ourselves to making a full product and complete product line of Star Trek series and characters.
So, Jamie, it sounds like what she's saying is for collectors like you, you need to start clearing your credit card now to be prepared for a flood of collectibles that you need to be charging.
Yeah. Don't.
Yeah. Don't tell your wives. Don't tell your
wives. Well, he's teasing me because I have this insatiable desire to like have complete sets of things and like complete things. And so it's funny, like, you know, when I was pre-ordering the Picard, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I'm just going to get the Picard because I love Picard. And then all of a sudden I'm looking at the data and I'm like, I can't just get Picard and then not get data. You know, it's bad. It's bad. So now I'm like, okay, well, do I just stick to the next generation people? You know, this is where it's going to get a little hairy for us.
Yeah, we'll see, I guess.
Yeah, we will.
Well, we're gonna have to put an extension on Jamie's house for all the stuff that he's acquired during our recording. Yeah. So we've seen, I think, teased that there was going to be a captain's chair for Picard that's going to be released at some point. So is that going to be before the Captain series? Is that going to be a ways down the road? Where does that stand?
The Picard chair, we don't have an official date for it, but again, it will have its own kind of set scheduling and timeline. So we'll probably have another, we'll probably give more information about it here in the next month or so, either about, you know, the official pricing or the timing of when it's going to come out. And that will be kind of like similar schedule to the Borg Queen statue that we're doing, which is non-articulated statue, but is a fully 1/6 replica of the Borg Queen for First Contact. So those will be a little bit spread out. But in terms of the Captain series, I can't say like if they will be that close together or far apart. It's kind of like a different timeline. So we're going to have on our website, we'll have soon, you'll be able to see us scheduling as we get more stuff out and more lines. You'll see kind of a different like schedule to see the calendar of which exact series you're looking at. So we'll update it more frequently as we have more lines coming out.
Nice. Yeah. Cause I got to say that captain's chair is what is really what drove me. For some reason, I've collected those over the years. So, and
it's a good display item.
It is. It really is. It looks nice on a shelf. But I didn't have one with the First Contact chair. So now now I need to. Not, it's not like Jamie where I'm gonna lose sleep at night over it. But eventually, it was going to come down to I was going to have to get it, and I would rather get it direct from EXO-6 than buy it third party somewhere else and have someone else get the money for it. So
yeah, thank you.
But believe me, I was rubbing it in his face when I saw the captain's chair collection. I was like, Mike, this is because I'm the one that everyone always makes fun of because of my craziness with the collecting. So any chance I get to like throw a couple digs at him or get him worked up is always fun for me.
Well, and it's funny.
I'm sure you guys will be able to throw a lot of these collectibles at each other very soon.
Yeah. It's funny because it was not that long after he shot that at me that you and I started communicating back and forth through emails. I said, "Oh, That's definitely going to be something that'll come up during the conversation. So,
yes.
Well, Charmaine, we appreciate you coming on and talking about EXO-6, and we both, if we didn't make it evident in this conversation, we're really looking forward to seeing the product and getting it on our shelves, but even more so being able to talk about its quality to everybody on our show so that they can experience it and get out there and pick up their own.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jamie and Mike. I really appreciate you having me here tonight. I really enjoyed speaking about everything we went through, kind of like the cultural things that have been in Star Trek community for a while. And I'm excited for you guys to see it as well. I think you'll be very, very pleased.
Cool. So where can our listeners look for EXO-6 products?
You can visit our website at EXO-6.com. And you can also view us on our Instagram, which is Star Trek EXO-6, and on Facebook and Twitter if you would like to view us there. And we have all of our products there, and we do our releases and our teasers on our social media. And if you wanted to be a little bit more direct, we have a newsletter on our website you can sign up for.
Excellent. Well, again, we appreciate you being on and sharing all of this great information on what is, I'm sure, soon to be an excellent product. And I want to say numerous times when describing the product that we've seen just in pictures on the show, I believe we've used the word exquisite a lot of times. So again, we're looking forward to that.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. The Collector's Corner is a supplementary episode of the Divine Treasury where we try to get licensees, manufacturers. We look for people who grade merchandise for you. Perhaps we will get someone who can tell you authenticity of a product. All types of things that collectors are looking for. So, for Jamie, my name is Mike. We thank you for listening to The Collector's Corner and The Divine Treasury. The Divine Treasury, connecting through collecting.
Music for The Divine Treasury is provided by 5 Year Mission. They're writing an original song for each episode of Star Trek. Hear more of their music at 5yearmission.net. The Divine Treasury is a production of Coconut Media Works. Executive producers Bill Smith and Dan Davidson. For more great Star Trek discussion, discover the other shows of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network at trekgeeks.com or find us in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app.